Uncertainty hovers like mist over your plans, and you wonder whether today will merely echo yesterday or reveal a hidden doorway. In this tender dawn, the sky blushes and you stand expectant, every breath vibrating with possibility. Soft light strokes your eyelids, proving that even night obeys the first command of God's voice. The eternal refuge, steady and kind, invites you into listening stillness so he can script meetings no planner foresees. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and he will make your paths straight. Proverbs 3:5-6. Straight paths mean guided turns. Each intersection may host a holy encounter prepared long before sunrise. What burden will you release to his timing today? What dream will you surrender for refining so your steps stay courageous? Let anticipation settle like dew, because gratitude already waits at day's end. Now, as your heart grows still, you step into the unfolding adventure before you. You draw breath in the grey hush before sunrise, sensing heaven's nearness as the first pale blade of light appears on the horizon. Every moment feels expectant, like dew poised on grass blades, trembling to fall. You have risen early not for routine, but for appointment, believing the author of time writes meetings no calendar holds. In this unhurried stillness you spread before him your tasks, yet you keep your eyes unclenched, ready for any detour the Spirit designs. You whisper permission, guide each mile, redeem every pause. Because of the Lord's great love you are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. So Lamentations 3:7-22-23. Mercy is dawn's signature, promising that today's page is unstained. Available for holy ink. This promise steadies your pulse and relaxes your shoulders. You rise from the prayer chair and feel floorboards cool beneath your soles. Creation itself nudges you forward. You notice the softened air, citrus sweet with early blossoms, and thank him for simple evidence that renewal is real. With gratitude awakening, you picture paths set before you, commutes, corridors, chat windows, aisles, and invite Christ to occupy the space between each breath. You resolve that no face is random, no conversation disposable, for every human story is soil where heaven may root. Now you rehearse expectation like a melody. You will walk the familiar sidewalk, but scan storefront reflections for opportunity. You will sit at your desk, but keep your spirit listening for the quiet nudge to send a message of encouragement. You will pass security guards, baristas, co-workers, and remember that angels once appeared as travelers needing lodging. Your planning app may predict stops and times. Yet you pledge allegiance to a higher scheduler whose notifications arrive by whisper. Suddenly you recall how Philip left a thriving revival to intersect one puzzled Ethiopian on a lonely road. Acts A2629. Distance, agenda, and reputation bent beneath the weight of divine choreography. One conversation unlocked a continent's hope. You ask for that same readiness. Feet untied from preference, heart light enough to pivot toward the unlikely. You picture yourself pausing beside a cubicle, joining a stranger's lunch table, or offering to carry groceries up rain, slick steps. The kingdom often travels on small generosities. Your confidence swells not in your own charisma, but in the Spirit's promptings. You remember the promise, "My sheep hear my voice." John 10:2-7. Recognition grows with practice. Obedience oils the hinges of hearing. So you sharpen your inner ear. Notice the name that lingers. The news headline that stirs urgent prayer, the sudden compassion to check on a friend. Each cue may be the opening line of a sacred appointment. Finally, you seal the morning's covenant. Wherever you lead, I will respond within 3 beats of my heart. You breathe this vow into the warming air, trusting He who began good work will supervise its timing. Dawn now breaks fully, painting clouds with rose and gold. Herald banners for the day's unfolding story. You carry a silent blessing in advance for the unknown names you will meet. A benediction waiting to be spoken the moment a gaze locks with yours. Like seed in a folded napkin, that blessing will feel small until released, yet it holds orchards the recipient cannot yet imagine. You step beyond the threshold, and the world greets you with a muted hush, as though creation itself holds its breath, waiting for you to notice. Early light glints across mailbox metal, a silent flare that reminds you every surface can become a signal. A sparrow flutters onto the fence, tilting its head as if offering directions. Traffic hums in the distance, yet even that steady rumble feels like heartbeat percussion urging attentiveness. You whisper a simple petition to sharpen perception, clarify focus. Let nothing sacred slip past unseen. In response, the wind brushes your cheek like a gentle palm, assuring you sight begins in the soul long before it reaches the eyes. Your commute unfolds like a tapestry thick with hints. An elderly neighbor struggling with a newspaper, a security guard tapping feet to a rhythm only heaven could compose. A billboard slogan oddly echoing last night's prayer. You resist hurried steps, allowing each micro pause to stretch spacious enough for purpose to enter. You catch your reflection in a glass door and remember that even your own face carries a narrative God longs to revise. Every hallway becomes a gallery of potential gestures, nods, smiles, lifted brows, that can unlock heavier doors than any key. Then Elisha prayed, "O Lord, open his eyes so that he may see." 2 Kings 16:17. Vision is a gift of grace. True clarity depends less on optics and more on surrendered perspective. Sudden recollection stirs. Jesus noticed Zacchaeus clinging to a sycamore limb others ignored. Luke 19:1-5. One upward glance changed a household, proving that holy appointments favor unlikely platforms. You ask for that alertness, eyes willing to tilt toward rooftops, alleyways, corner offices. You imagine pausing beside the receptionist's desk, sensing unspoken fatigue masked by routine greetings, and offering a gentle word that lands like cool water on scorched ground. You picture an overbooked manager delaying you at the elevator. Rather than fume, you recognize the delay as choreography and speak encouragement that lightens hidden burdens. I open my eyes that I may see wonderful things in your law. See Psalm 119:e. Scripture trains internal lenses, teaching you to detect wonder beneath ordinary grain. As verses echo in memory, you begin to frame each encounter with expectation. This could be the moment conversation pivots into confession, or laughter rewires despair. Even interruptions feel different now, less like friction and more like steering. A misplaced file sends you to another department. A stranger in line comments on the weather, and suddenly both of you trace the forecast of hope. By midday you practice thanking God for sights invisible to hurried travelers. The faint tremor in a coworker's voice, the stalled sigh of a cashier counting change, the quiet courage of a teenager holding a sketchbook on the bus. You no longer pray for detours to end, you pray to interpret them. You bless the unseen relay in which one kindness passes to the next recipient, rippling beyond measurement. And as sun arcs toward afternoon, you sense spiritual pupils widening further, ready for the trembling edge where mundane intersects miracle. You venture into the cadence of the day, intent on hearing more than traffic horns or elevator chimes. Each stride becomes a quiet promise. Your ears will stay tuned for whispers that seldom surface above the din. A pigeon beats its wings overhead, pulsing the air with feathered percussion, reminding you that guidance often arrives as soft percussion rather than fanfare. You slow your pace enough to distinguish disparate sounds: a distant lawnmower drone, a child's faint laughter, your own breathing settling into measured rhythm, and you ask that every tone become a syllable in God's unfolding sentence. Coffee steams in the mug you cradle, yet even the hiss when you set it down seems to form punctuation between invitations. Colleagues bustle by, exchanging terse greetings. You detect fatigue beneath one smile and jot a mental note to circle back. Silence is scarce here, yet you realize stillness is portable. It rides on practiced attention. You give that gift to the moment, allowing ambient noise to thin until an inner hush emerges, wide enough for instruction to land. Your calendar buzzes with reminders, but you refrain from answering at once. Instead, you slip earbuds in without music, an intentional decoy to discourage chatter, so you can focus on subtler messages. The irregular clack of a coworker's keyboard betrayed by anxious keystrokes, the tremor in a supervisor's voice suggesting unspoken concern. Each auditory clue becomes a breadcrumb, guiding you toward unseen need. You sense a nudge to linger by the printer where an intern shuffles papers too quickly. And you ask a gentle question that unlocks her worry about a looming deadline. Listening steps require relinquishing assumption. You practice the art by repeating internally, "Speak and I will translate." A sudden memory surfaces of a friend you have not called in months. The recollection feels weightier than nostalgia, so you text a brief encouragement. Within seconds, a reply pings back. "I needed this more than you know." You marvel at the precise timing, an echo proving that attentive feet are paired with responsive ears. Afternoon sunlight slants across your desk, gilding paper edges, and you hear the air conditioning click off. The hush that follows is startling, almost sacred, as though an invisible curtain draws back so revelation can enter. You close your eyes long enough to let gratitude rise, then resume work with renewed sensitivity. Moments later, a maintenance worker taps lightly on your cubicle wall to replace a flickering bulb. Rather than retreat behind polite nods, you invite conversation. 10 minutes pass, and he shares a recent loss. Your quiet presence becomes a harbor where grief can breathe. You notice how obedience to small promptings accumulates like rainwater in a barrel. The reservoir grows, ready to refresh someone wilting in arid concern. Evening nears, but your posture of listening does not fold with daylight, it sharpens. For twilight is often when unheard stories seek safe release. You prepare to walk home, determined that footfalls remain cinched with inner awareness. Streetlights blink on, echoing the earlier promise. Illumination is given to walkers who refuse to rush past whispering shadows. As you reach your door, you pause, allowing the hush of night to settle over shoulders, slightly weary yet profoundly alive. You exhale a vow to carry this attentive rhythm into every room tomorrow, trusting that guidance multiplies where receptivity is nurtured. The latch clicks behind you, a final soft syllable sealing a day steered by tones most overlook, and you recognize that this too is holy music. Late afternoon light pours through high windows, painting gold lattices on the floor, and you sense the moment ripen for bold generosity. The day's earlier attentiveness has attuned your pulse to hidden ache. Now compassion asks for movement. You notice a co-worker hunched over a screen, shoulders tight as drawn bowstrings, frustration leaking through clenched breaths. An inner urging nudges you beyond polite distance. You wheel your chair beside hers, offer quiet help, and watch tension loosen like knots surrendered to warm water. The risk is small, yet the ripple feels vast, because faith grows muscle whenever you expose kindness to possible rejection. Courage never requires grand stages. It flourishes in ordinary corridors where reluctance usually reigns. You recall the coffee shop barista who spilled syrup and flinched at impatient stares. You met her eyes, spoke reassurance, and became a soft barrier against criticism. Moments later, you left an extra tip and penned a brief blessing on the receipt. Such gestures may seem slight, but heaven measures impact by obedience, not spectacle. Boldness is less about volume than about willingness to step through the thin membrane between noticing and acting. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. 2 Joshua 1:9. These words anchor your resolve. Strength blooms where his presence abides, and courage becomes the natural rhythm of a heart convinced it is never alone. You walk outside for fresh air and find the sky brimming with shifting cloud towers. A stray breeze carries laughter from a nearby park, mingled with the faint rattle of a street musician's tambourine. You feel prompted to cross the road, drop a few bills into the open guitar case, and exchange a word of blessing. The musician's surprised grin radiates gratitude, and you realize that generosity is a bridge spanning socioeconomic valleys. By extending it, you honor the Imago Dei shining through patched jackets and polished suits alike. And do not forget to do good and to share with others, for with such sacrifices God is pleased. Hebrews 13:5 sharing redefines ownership. What you release multiplies, and what you guard shrinks. Sacrifice mingled with joy rises like incense, drawing divine delight over the simplest acts. Twilight begins its gentle descent, tenting offices in honeyed hues. You send one last text of encouragement, hold an elevator door a few extra beats, and choose patience behind a slow driver on the way home, praying blessing over the car ahead. None of these decisions trend on social feeds, yet each registers in the archives of heaven. As porch lights flicker on across the neighborhood, you sense a quiet assurance. Courageous reach prepares you for holy encounter soon to unfold. You rest your hand on the door handle, heart steady, knowing tomorrow's surprises are already being woven through tonight's surrendered bravery. The sky has slipped into amber, and you move through the supermarkets after work crowd with an ease learned from hours of attentive practice. Your cart rolls past displays of ripe peaches and crusty bread, yet your focus hovers somewhere deeper, like a lighthouse beam scanning for vessels beyond the mist. Then you hear it, a soft sob muffled behind a stack of bargain oranges. You hesitate only a heartbeat before steering closer and spotting a young woman crouched beside her toddler, cheeks wet, wallet open to reveal nothing but expired receipts. The child clutches a single carton of milk, wide-eyed in confusion. A hush settles over the aisle, as if time itself has paused, waiting to see whether compassion will answer need. You kneel, letting your voice weave equal parts warmth and respect. Looks like today has been heavy. She nods, words tangled behind embarrassment. You glance at the register line 5 paces away, sense shoppers' impatience pricking like static, and realize this intersection was scheduled long before either of you penned a to-do list. Reaching into your pocket, you offer a gift card kept for nameless recipients, fruit of a morning vow to be ready. Her eyes widen. Gratitude flickers like sunrise through clouds. She protests, yet you assure her the provision comes from a father who traces every sparrow's flight. The milk remains in the child's grasp, but weight lifts from the mother's shoulders as though invisible hands have hoisted entire burdens. While waiting at the checkout, you continue gentle conversation, discovering she lost her job last week and fears eviction. You listen more than you speak, allowing her story to unfold without rush. When it is your turn to pay, you quietly cover her groceries along with your own, declining fanfare. At the exit, she asks why you helped. You answer simply, because today was designed for hope to find you. Tears glimmer again, this time bright with relief. The toddler waves a sticky hand, and you feel the kingdom pulse in that small gesture. Outside, breeze cools your temples as neon lights blink awake along the street. You walk toward the parking lot, heart thudding with reverent awe. Not because the act was grand, it was modest, quickly forgotten by passers-by, but because a divine script unfolded in real time, and you were invited to read your line. You recall morning's promise, every face carries purpose. Now you have witnessed that truth incarnate, and it reorders your understanding of mundane spaces. Grocery aisles turn into sanctuaries, receipt paper becomes record of grace. Driving home, you replay the scene not to bask in self-congratulation, but to savor how heaven stitches ordinary minutes into eternal fabric. You realize the encounter has changed you as much as it aided her. Compassion has stretched capacity. Empathy has sharpened discernment. Traffic slows near a red light, and you offer silent thanks for the choreography of timing. The exact moment the gift card rested in your pocket. The precise aisle where tears fell, the compassionate impulse strong enough to overcome potential awkwardness. You whisper another blessing over the woman's future, trusting unseen provision will continue long after this brief intersection. As you turn onto your street, dusk deepens into indigo, and street lamps cast halos on wet pavement from an earlier sprinkle. You step from the car with lighter stride, carrying the quiet certainty that more appointments await, each one a canvas ready for strokes of kindness. Tonight's memory will fuel tomorrow's vigilance. Expectancy no longer feels abstract, but tangible as the warm milk bag cradled in a grateful child's arms. You enter your home, lights low, soul high, and realize the day's true nourishment was served not on your plate, but through your open hands. Night settles like velvet, gently dimming every bright edge until only soft lamplight and lingering fragrance of brewed tea remain. You sit near a window cracked just enough to let cricket's chorus slip inside, and you draw a long breath, gathering the hours into open hands. All day you lived with eyes wide, ears keen, and heart agile. Now you let memory replay each unnoticed miracle. The melody of a stranger's laughter that eased tension in a queue. The sparkle of relief in a mother's tear, bright eyes when milk and mercy met. The unspoken thanks behind the smile of a tired colleague whose frustration eased because you paused to help. These moments drift past your mind's eye like constellations, and you trace them, naming each star, blessing each point of light. You realize gratitude is not merely a closing ritual, it is the harvest of obedience. By returning thanks, you turn events into testimony, ensuring no seed of kindness rots uncelebrated. You speak aloud, thank you for guiding each step, and the room feels warmer, as though walls themselves echo affirmation. Worries that once clamored have fallen silent, unable to compete with the symphony of remembered goodness. You sense the Father lean close, pleased by your attentive recounting, eager to reveal how these small threads already weave tomorrow's tapestry. A journal lies open on the table, pages bright against dark wood. You write brief bullet phrases, surprise detour, shared sandwich, lifted burden, each line anchoring grace in ink before sleep erases vivid edges. The act slows your breathing, steadying pulse, until gratitude becomes a lullaby. You notice how naming blessings rearranges perspective. Inconveniences shrink, triumphs glow truer, and even unanswered questions rest, knowing gratitude builds trust for mysteries still unfolding. Outside, a breeze stirs wind chimes, their gentle clatter reminding you that praise carries farther than perception. Somewhere the young mother settles her child, somewhere the street musician counts the unexpected kindness. Somewhere an intern breathes easier because someone listened. You recognize that gratitude, like light, travels beyond walls, illuminating faces you may never see again. You let that truth gladden you, then whisper blessing upon them all, releasing each name into God's keeping. Finally you stretch, letting shoulders soften. Moonlight spills across the floorboards, silvering footprints traced earlier at dawn, and you smile at the full circle. Expectation birthing encounter, courage birthing relief, gratitude birthing peace. You bow your head, surrender the night, and rest in assurance that the author who orchestrated today's appointments is already scripting tomorrow's wonders. Your eyelids grow heavy, and as you rise toward bed, you breathe one last, quiet pledge to awaken with the same readiness that fueled this day's adventure. For now, you sink into stillness, wrapped in the hush of promises kept and goodness witnessed, knowing that divine faithfulness watches while you sleep. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and breathe in the gentle certainty that every hour ahead is charged with possibility. Picture dawn's first rays brushing your face, reminding you that fresh mercy arrives on schedule. Offer today's agenda like seeds scattered on fertile ground, trusting the gardener to bring appointments you could never arrange. Whisper thanks for yesterday's unseen shields and for companions placed along the path. Ask, whom will you send across my steps? Then wait a heartbeat, letting anticipation deepen. Carry this calm expectancy into movement, knowing each breath can usher heaven to earth.